a month in from the constant competition of the indoor season, I guess, how would you kind of gauge how the team has performed so far?
The team's been doing great. I think the first couple meets of the season are always a little challenging to, we call them a rust buster for a reason. You're kind of on the track for the first time in a long time, and you're trying to feel what it's like to throw down and compete, especially for the distance runners. You haven't felt that deep burn in a long time, and for the power athletes, they're working on a lot of technical things for their events, so it just takes a little bit of some effort to get to the point where you feel really comfortable in the ring again, or on the runway, or it's lining up in your lane. So they've been doing pretty well with that.
Obviously after a long cross-country season, the distance group is understandably kind of brought along a little more slowly, but a month left in the indoor season, Mayo Invitational, a pretty good field. What have you seen so far, and what are you hoping to see going forward out of this group?
Yeah, so this is that first weekend that I would call kind of that critical weekend where you're faced with a lot of great competition, and you've got the ability to step on the line and really do something special. I think our athletes are coming around at just the right point. We've put in the VO2 max work, we're still touching on that threshold, and now we're giving them that speed and that race pace effort, so they should be able to feel really comfortable going at some faster speeds than they have all year.
So, home stretch out of the coming up with MAC championships a couple weeks away. What needs to happen to see this both sides kind of put things together as you wrap up indoor, but then start to transition towards outdoor?
Yeah, so definitely focused on the MAC championship and getting all the qualifying marks that we can. For the women, they have to be top 20 in the conference in order to get that spot at the conference meet, and then we'll put together a team and see how many points we can score. I think if we look across the board, we've got some really good athletes in the throwing events. We've got some really great sprinters. We've got the return of some of our mid-distance girls that could end up throwing up some points for us. And as such a young team on the distance end, we've got some girls that could do very well, but we're not going to be expecting them to come away with a crown necessarily. But I think across the board, we've got some really good things happening that we could end up surprising some people.
All right, Zach, your long-awaited season debut is starting this weekend at the Mayo Invitational. You've been keeping yourself in shape, practicing with the team, but it's got to be a good feeling to finally get out and put a time in.
Yeah, during the fall it was nice to be able to practice with the guys still and get the occasional race in unattached, but it'll definitely be great to be able to put on a Miami uniform and actually travel with the team and go through all the normal stuff, and we'll be back to business, what we're used to around here.
I know last year Joe Stewart, kind of the headlines for him spoke for themselves, but he had a pretty steady year right behind him. What have you been working on as far as just to really make this a banner year for you?
Just trying to be a little bit more patient. I think I came into last year in pretty good shape in January, and I kept kind of pushing on that in February, and it ended up costing me a lot of my March, and I didn't get great training in March. So this year, just trying to stay patient, make sure that I'm consistent throughout the whole year, and that way I can start seeing the results that I want to see in early April, late April.
And so far, how do you have it? Do you have a gauge of how that's going for you physically?
Mayo will be my first indication as far as a time goes or anything like that, but I feel fresh this year. I feel a lot better than I did this time last year, so I like to think that it's working.
All right, Allison, team's essentially got a month of competition under its belt for the indoor season. How would you gauge how the team's doing so far?
I think things are going really well for us. I think last week was a really big step for a lot of people, just moving into having some better performances, and been working really hard. We've kind of been training through the first half of the season, so as we begin to get closer to championship season, kind of taper down, and we'll be a little bit more well rested for the meets and hopefully have some pretty peak performances.
You've undergone a bit of a transition this year, moving more into the distance side of things. How are you feeling that transition is going? Getting a cross-country season under your belt, and then doing a mile now indoors.
Yeah, I think it's it's definitely unexpected and unanticipated, but I think it's going really well, and I'm loving it. So yeah, I'm just getting used to the whole distance training kind of thing, and kind of using what I learned and through my sprint training to kind of help me out. And I think it's going really well, and I'm excited to see what I can do in the mile and the 800 and the more distance races this year.
What are some of the things from your experience in the sprints that have maybe kind of helped you along that you've been able to carry over into the distance?
So training with the sprints, do a lot of sprint mechanics, running form, that kind of thing. And that kind of thing is when you get tired at the end of a distance race, that kind of thing is really important to remember to keep your running mechanics and your form. So that's been really helpful, and just overall just strength, I think. Running strong and being strong.
Kind of home stretch of the indoor season. What's the team hoping to really get out of these next couple of weeks?
Yeah, so I think just keep having a couple last few weeks of really tough training, and then just kind of, we put in the work, and I think everyone's been working so hard, and just seeing what we can do come max, and see if we can surprise some people, which I think we can, because we're really talented this year.
Right.